Hi, and I'd like to especially thank Sarah Lee for introducing me and for giving me this opportunity to talk about crystals and to connect with fellow crystal lovers. I'm Jean Tindle, and I love everything about crystals. I have a business selling crystals. I do healing work with crystals. I've studied crystals for over 20 years, and I just feel like they're a fun way to connect with the earth and with all that is. So I'd like to talk today a little bit about crystals and your intuition. And crystals, I believe, are a really interesting and fun way to connect and open up to your intuition. There's a couple things I want to say first about intuition. I know some of you have probably been working with this for a long time, and others may be fairly new to it. But I feel like right now there's many people that are becoming more aware of their intuition, that are opening up, and there's a few important things that are good to know when you're working in this way. The first is you really need to get clear on your own stuff, to really be working on your own stuff, because it's a really good way to actually, once you're aware of where you are, where you might have issues, to become more clear when you actually do open to intuition, so that you can discern what is guidance and what is just your ego, maybe your ego speaking, or just wishful thinking, if you will. It's an important point to make when you're working with your intuition. The second is it's extremely helpful to have some kind of meditation practice when you're doing this kind of work and when you're working with your intuition, because guidance doesn't really come into a chaotic mind. So if your mind is all over the place, which happens to all of us, it's important to have a way to come back into your center before you begin to connect with higher guidance. I find that meditation does that. Walking in nature can do that. Just putting your hands on the earth for a minute can do that, can bring you back to your center. And that's a really good place to start from when you're working with intuition. Also, it's important to really be mindful, if you're working with other people, to ask permission to give them information that you might receive. Don't just walk up to someone and blurt out, "Oh, I got this thing about you," and because there's some things that you receive, some guidance that you will receive, or some intuition that you will receive for others that they may not be ready to hear. So always ask if they want to hear what guidance you've received. It's an important thing. And it's important to realize that channeled information or guidance or higher wisdom or what have you, it comes through your filter, or it comes through the filter of the person who's giving it. So there's always going to be a little bit of distortion, but for the most part, the more clear you can be with your own self, the easier it's going to be to tap into that true wisdom and true guidance. So I find that crystals are an excellent way to help with this process. There's something about them that is opening, that is really, it makes it a little bit easier to tap in sometimes, and they're a fun way I like my toys. So that's a fun thing for me, it's just a fun way to do it. So before you start any session where you're going to really open up to your higher wisdom or higher guidance, it's important to set a sacred space, or to set a safe space. So what I like to do is I like to say a little prayer to call in my own guidance and the highest light. And I like to have a stone that's grounding, such as tourmaline or maybe a smoky quartz, and a stone that's going to open the higher spiritual wisdom, which, like an amethyst, for instance. When I do classes, I have all four corners of the room, I'll have a tourmaline and 3 amethysts in each corner, and it raises up the vibration of the room, and it allows the space to become safe. So that's a good way to start, and that's a good way crystals can help you when you're doing this. And there's a few stones I'd really like to mention now that I find are my favorite ones to open up to wisdom and to open up to guidance and channeling and what have you. Wherever you want to go with these. My very first and very favorite stone to have is quartz, of course. Quartz does everything, basically. If you have just one stone, a quartz is a really good stone to begin with. I like it particularly for intuitive work because it's easy to feel subtle changes in energy in a quartz. It's a stone that actually responds really well to subtle information, which is what intuitive guidance really is. It's been used for centuries by shamanic practitioners to open to the magical realms. And so it's a really good, it's just a really good starting point to, this is a plasma quartz, which is a very high vibration quartz. And currently it's one of my favorite things to bring me to a vibration where I can receive information. So it's one of my current favorites. These are beautiful stones. Well, they're all beautiful, right? The second stone I want to mention is celestite. Celestite connects you with the angelic realm. That's what I use it for. It's pretty much all I use it for. There are other uses for it, but this is for this purpose, if you're working with angelic guidance, celestite is a really good stone to have. The third stone that I like for opening the third eye, for really working specifically with the third eye, is iolite. And iolite here's a polished iolite with sunstone. And then I have really small, rough iolites, which are actually good to put on the third eye. Iolite is sometimes called water sapphire because it's got a translucence. It's blue and it's fairly translucent. It has a particular energy that's electric in a way. So when you do put it on your third eye, you get kind of a little buzz. You can actually almost feel it opening. So it's a really good stone. If you can't quite feel the energy of your third eye, or you can't quite connect to that intuitive process, this is a really good stone for that. It opens the 5th through the 9th chakra, so it's a pretty high vibration energy. And it works with the violet ray, which is a powerful healing and spiritual ray that many people use for transcendence. So this is a really good stone. It also helps you, I like iolite, you can tell. It also helps you to discern the truth of information you're receiving, which sometimes when you're working with intuition and when you're just first opening up particularly, you can get information that doesn't feel right or feels dense or lower vibration or heavy. And those are the energies you really don't want to have in your space. So if you use this is a very good way to open your discernment as well as you're working with your intuition. And one thing I will say about those energies is you can ask them to leave. They have to respond. You ask them to leave. I do it 3 times because that gets my mind out of the way. But really, if you just asked an energy that doesn't feel right to leave, it will. Really what you want is the highest light coming in. You can put that in your opening prayer as well. It's a special thing to focus on when you're first starting. Um, so the next stone I really like to work with your intuition and higher guidance is Danburite. And Danburite is a very high vibration stone. It's a stone that some people don't even see. It vibrates so high. I noticed that when I have it for sale on my table at times, there's people that don't really even see it. It's a particularly high vibration. It is a particularly strong stone that opens your intuition like very quickly. So use it with care. And it also has the energy of lightning, which is a particularly quick and powerful way of using insight. That's a whole other class, but Danburite if you're looking for really quick transformation, Danburite is a good stone to use. Quick opening. The next stone I'd like to talk about is lapis. Lapis increases psychic ability. It is a stone of spiritual growth. It's a stone that's been used for millennia for that reason. It's a stone of gnosis, a stone of knowledge, deeper knowledge. So it's a good way to connect and actually see other realms. It actually does open vision as you work with it. And the last stone I want to talk about is apophyllite. This is a particularly awesome apophyllite because it has 3 windows. I'm not sure if you could see that, but there's 3. The three diamond shapes in there are actually portals to upper realms. So this stone is a connector with interdimensional awareness. It's a connector with higher consciousness. It's a connector of the crown chakra. It's an amazing stone to use on the crown chakra. And it will help you to open those spirit eyes through which you see other realms. So these are some of my favorite crystals to use, and it can be really fun for you to try out various ones. I would encourage you to try out other stones that I haven't mentioned here that you feel are very high vibration. So that's really, these are my favorites. We're going to recap the stones we went over previously, just so you can see them up close. This is the plasma quartz, obviously. The celestite, which is a stone of the angels. Quartz is a stone of focus and amplification. The iolite, which is a stone that is of discernment, actually getting information and knowing the truth of it, and a really high level of wisdom. The Danburite, which is a high vibration lightning stone, brings quick insight, quick intuition. Lapis, this is a rough piece of lapis. It's very beautiful. That is a stone of knowledge, a stone of psychic opening. And we have our apophyllite with the windows here, and just a beautiful connector to higher guidance. That is also the middle of the wand stone. So that's a short recap of the stones we used. A lot of the work I've done with crystals over the years comes from a deep shamanic connection. I've studied many traditions of shamanism, and I find that the connections you form with your crystals yourself are really the best connections there are. There's 1,000 definitions for crystals out there and different ways you can use them, but I find that the way you come to for yourself is the best way, usually. So I'm going to do a short meditation that I like to use in my classes that really connects you in with the crystal. If you'd like to stop the tape right now and go grab a crystal, feel free to do that, and we'll do this short meditation, or you can do it later if you wish. So I want to share some music. And just get into your breath and begin to gaze into your crystal. And as you look into the crystal, just notice what's there. Notice the markings on the outside. Notice any light coming from within. Just notice what the crystal looks like. What's its shape? How does it feel in your hands? Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it clear, or are there veils, rooms inside? There may be a city in there. Crystals have a lot to tell you. Now just close your eyes and imagine your crystal as very large in front of you. And look at it from that aspect. Walk around the outside. Is it towering, or is it about your size? How has it presented to you? And as you walk around, on one of the sides of the crystal, you'll find a doorway. And if you wish, just step inside that doorway and go into the crystal. And look around the inside of the crystal. It may expand to a very large crystal cavern, or it may just be small and self-contained. Look around and see the various corners that you couldn't see when you looked from the outside. There's light coming in. There may be some rainbows coming off the wall. Take a moment and ask for the spirit of the crystal to come forward. This may appear as a voice or a feeling or an actual being. And when the crystal comes forward as a spirit, simply ask, why have you come to me? How do you wish me to use you? What is my purpose here with you? And allow the crystal to speak to you in whatever way that you perceive. Why it has come, what its story is, how it would like to be used. Crystals are ancient carriers of wisdom. If we can listen to their story, we can learn a lot about why they are here and how we can use them. With the spirit of the crystal beside you, walk around again and explore. Explore the inside of the crystals. Go behind the veils. Look within the lights. Really explore what's there. And allow the spirit of the crystal to speak. When you come back to the center of the crystal, the spirit of the crystal has one word for you to bring back that will help you remember this, that will help you remember why it has come to you. Find the doorway once again and step outside of the crystal. And allow it to come back down to its size. And when you're ready, open your eyes and look into the crystal once again. How has it changed? Is there something that you can see now that you didn't see before? Can you feel your connection in a new way? Just allow yourself to be informed once again by the crystal itself. And take a deep breath. And bring yourself back into your consciousness. And I hope you enjoyed that guided meditation. You can do it again if you wish. I do it with all my crystals when they come to me. And by the way, I love to hear people's stories, so I'd love to hear your story about what you found, or if you found anything, or how this meditation worked for you. My contact details are below this video. Thank you for participating. So in part 3 of this presentation, I'd like to show you 3 more ways that you can use crystals to enhance or play with your intuition. I'd like to encourage you to play with it because I find that if you play, you kind of get out of the way of the heady stuff. And a lot of the thing about higher wisdom is it's not dense or it's not serious. It's usually very loving and very playful. So it sort of helps you get into the spirit of things. So I have 3 different ways that you can connect and play with this energy. And there's a couple other things I want to say about intuition. The first thing being, always trust yourself. Don't think, oh, it's just my imagination. Oh, I can't really be getting this, because really the guidance will come through you the more you trust it. There are different ways to perceive energies coming in, higher guidance, higher wisdom. There are certain people that are visual and they'll see things, they'll see visions. There are other people, I'm not one of those people. There are people who are more auditory, so they'll hear information, which is usually how I perceive information. There are those of you that will just feel it or just know it. So there's very different ways of perceiving information and guidance that comes to you. So really just play with it and see what might be more prevalent for you. That's part of the fun part, is discovery. So the first way I want to talk about playing with this energy, or really kind of working with it a little more. And that one of the good ways that I've found is a pendulum. I have crystal pendulums because I like crystal, but you can have a pendulum made out of just about anything. I know people who use their keys as pendulums. And a pendulum is basically just your higher wisdom coming through to answer a question. So when you get a pendulum, you're going to find one that actually moves for you. And it's sometimes a process to find your pendulum. So what I first do when I'm going to work with a pendulum is I ask permission to ask a question from my higher guidance. It's just a good practice. And the second thing is to sort of take a minute and center yourself and get your mind out of the way. As a friend of mine says, send it to the corner and give it a cookie. That's a good way to get your mind out of the way. And then when you first get your pendulum, you're going to ask it to show you yes. It's going to answer yes or no questions. So for me, yes is a clockwise motion of the pendulum. And then you're going to ask it to show you no. And for me, no is back and forth, like that. And then you can ask it questions. My pendulum, because I've been working with them so long, they move it's pretty obvious when they're moving. For you, it might be a much more subtle movement at the beginning. So just play with it. It's a good way. And then you ask it questions. Is this really my crystal? I do that a lot. I ask my pendulum if I should have a crystal. When I have an order for someone and they ask me to pick a crystal, I asked if it's I connect with their guidance and I ask if that's their crystal. It's a good informational tool. Again, it's a tool. It doesn't, it helps you to see some of the higher answers that you're receiving. And the other way to work with a pendulum is if you're doing healing work, or even if you're trying to determine if one of your chakras might be blocked or sluggish or not moving necessarily optimally. Here's another way to do it. I have a little drawing of a man down here. It's very rudimentary, but when I'm doing healing work on someone, I will work with the pendulum to determine the movement of their chakras. So you'll start at the first chakra. Now this is obviously going to move yes but what you're looking for when you go from chakra to chakra is you're looking for differences. If you're getting the chakras moving pretty evenly and all turning in the same direction, then you've got a pretty open person with not a lot of stuck energy. If, however, now I'm going to move this purposefully, but if you get like on the throat chakra, you get a no, or you get a shaky movement, or something that's not in coherence with the rest of the movements that you've gotten, then you've got like some stuck energy maybe. So that, like if I was working on a healing session with somebody, I would work on their throat chakra. And that's just, again, you're looking for movement that's pretty much the same and balanced in all the chakras with a person. And that's another really good way to use a pendulum. It's very instructive, and it's a shortcut to, maybe trying to feel into it. So that's another way I use the pendulum, and I find it very instructive. The second thing that I want to talk to you about, the second way to play with opening up your intuition, uses the celestite that I mentioned earlier. And this is a connector to angelic energy. So this is called an angel writing. This is a technique I got from my friend Gary. Thank you, Gary. I think it's probably pretty well known, and how I use it with the stones is I ask the celestite I'll sit and meditate with the celestite, and then I will proceed with the exercise. So it's used sort of as a connector to that guidance. And the exercise, you'll need a pen and paper, and there's a little invocation you use. And what you do is you pose a question. And the way I phrase it, and you can phrase it any way you like, is what do the angels have to tell me today about whatever your issue or question is? And then you say this little prayer 3 times. I'll read it once. Angel of love, my guardian dear, to whom God's love commits me here, ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to love and guide. You can substitute the word God for the energy of your choice. You could say, to whom all love commits me here. It doesn't matter. It's what you're doing with this invocation is you're getting your brain entrained to receive information. I say it 3 times because that gets my brain out of the way and just sort of gets the rhythm of the question in my mind. Once that I say that, I'll sit with my paper and my pen and my question, and I'll actually use the celestite, and I'll sort of gaze into the celestite until I begin to, in my case, I would hear information. You might just start writing automatically. You can do it in any way. I find the less you think about what you're writing, the more clear the message is going to be. You may get a little bit of static in there, but you'll find a message within the writing. I've used this technique in many classes. I've used it with many people who are very skeptical about angels. And some of the most skeptical people get the best information. I don't know why that is, but it is a really good technique to use, and it is very, it works. So that's another way you can play with the energy of opening your intuition to higher guidance. In this case, guidance from the angels or ethereal beings, if you will. The third way you can play with energy, and this is many of you who know my partner, Bob, he makes these wands. These are an unbelievable way to connect with higher energy. This is called an inspiration wand. It's a plasma quartz, an apophyllite with a portal called the Flame of Ishtar, another plasma quartz, and this one has 2 tourmalines. This wand was actually created to provide a pathway to the higher realms. It was, it allows the frequencies and healing energies of higher guidance to come in. It's a really, really beautiful way to have a meditation. It may, if you're new to meditation, it can provide sort of a pathway. The angel writing can too. It's another way that you can really sort of get your mind out of the way and let the real guidance come in. As an aside, the way I tell if it's guidance or if it's my own ego getting in the way, and this is subtle, but it's an important difference, is if the information comes through my heart, I know that this is higher guidance. If it comes in through my brain, I pretty much know it's my ego getting in the way. It's something you have to kind of play with, but it is kind of a really good indicator of where the information is coming from, and if the information is from the highest and best. This wand provides high energy, high light energy, so it's automatically going to give you more sort of a really high light energy information. So you don't have to really worry as much about, oh, is this from the light? Is it not? You can ask if it feels a little dense. But for the most part, this is going to bring in really, really high vibration energy. You can also use these in healing work to open up the pathways of what needs to be worked with, to open up maybe a wider space within the person where you can actually see what's going on. It is a divine guidance connector, and it is, these wands are, I've been using these wands for years, and they're just a beautiful way to connect with what you need to do in any kind of venue, whether it be healing, whether it be connecting with your intuition, or whether it be another meditation. There's many uses for the wands. So that sort of wraps up what I have to say. I'd like to thank again Sarah Lee. Sorry. I'd like to thank Sarah Lee for this opportunity. My website is spiritdancercrystals.com. There is an offer and some more information below this video, so feel free to get that information, contact me with any questions or any comments on the meditation I did beforehand. And I'd just like to thank you all for watching. I'm Jean Tindle, Spirit Dancer Crystals. Thank you so much.